Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marta, I come from Norway and I love makeup, and today I am doing a video on Lethal Cosmetics. And I haven't done a video on them in super long, but I do have a ton of shadows from them, and I did order this custom palette last year, I think. And I think you can see that it's quite similar to my collab palette Serpent, which is actually available for purchase. But this does have a little bit of a grungier, deeper vibe to it, I feel like. And I'm just very excited to finally do some looks with this. So I'm going to show you 3 different looks. In the beginning of the video, I'll also show you some swatches, and that's basically it. So it's probably going to be a bit of a longer video because I did 3 looks. So I will try to remember to do some chapters down below so that you can choose whatever you want to look at. But let's get started. Now here is the palette close up. It is relatively similar to my Serpent palette, but you know, I just love these fall colors so much, and this palette has been sitting in a shelf for so long and I haven't really used it. You can see I've dipped a little bit into a few of these, and this shadow is actually, I think it is a dupe to my Serpent palette. I will show you some swatches with comparisons afterwards. So I really just wanted to show you my Serpent palette like next to the custom palette from Lethal Cosmetics. I hope you can see them both properly. It's a little bit dark maybe, but you can see the similarities, I'm sure, but you can also probably see the differences. I don't know which one is the most spooky, but the Lethal one is definitely a bit deeper. Especially with the shimmers, and I suppose also there are deeper mattes there. So yeah, just wanted to show you that. And here you can see with the light just going in different directions, so you can see some of the shifts. And I would say these shadows are quite shifty, and the ones that aren't shifty shadows are very sparkly and beautiful. I'm just trying to show you that deepest one too. I love that kind of shift from red to green with a black base. And now let me show you the swatches. Here we have the whole color story swatched out, and I love the color story even more when I see it on my arm like this. And I'm gonna show you with the different lighting now too. So you can see that the metallic shades, this one and this one, they are very sparkly. They're a bit more flaky than the others. But I would also say, oh, and this gray one is also a metallic. But I would say that maybe this one is more in between. I think this one is called Mesosphere or something. But the deepest ones right here, those are very silky feeling and very, very smooth, like super smooth in the formula, while still being very impactful and having all those tiny, beautiful sparkles that you can see right here. So I'm very, very happy about this color story and the shadows themselves. I will, however, say that using this one today, I did get some fallout, but although it was visible, I wasn't necessarily super bothered by it. But it's just something to note, especially since I was using glitter glue and I shouldn't really be having fallout. And then I think this one is so interesting. It's like a black with a, I would say it goes through red and then it goes more of a orange, almost golden shade. So it's a very beautiful shade, and I do have this in a different formula too. I have the one from Shall We, and yeah, I haven't really swatched those, but I probably should. But yeah, that is the whole color story. I love how these colors go together. I feel like this is kind of like a more spooky version of Serpent because it has some deeper alternatives for shimmers. And also I just went a little bit heavier with the tealish blue shades. I really hope that you like the color story. And I actually did 3 looks with this color story, so I'm going to show you those. But first, I can't forget this. I actually did compare the shade Penumbra. It's something like that. It is the green multichrome that is a little bit deeper. It's this one, it's the one from Lethal, and this is actually from my Serpent collab palette. So I just wanted to show you the comparison. So I think they're nearly identical. I don't really see necessarily any big difference. I feel like maybe my shade is a little bit more shifty, but it could also just be the placement on my hand. So basically I would say they're dupes. And the formula feels very similar too. So yeah, you can be the judge. I'm just trying to show you with some different angles and such, so you can make up your mind. Maybe mine is a bit deeper in the base. Nah, I think they're pretty much the same. Yeah, so I just want to show you that, but now let me show you the 3 looks that I created with this color story. Now for a look with this one, I'm gonna do something a little bit more neutral because I'm even going to the gym today, so I don't want it to be like super deep or colorful. So I think I'll be using at least like these 2, and I'll see whether I'll use this one or this one, which is a little bit more red. Now I'm starting with the top shade, that is the green one. Oh, I love these kind of shades so much, and I think they go very well with my blue eyes too. I think it makes the color pop a little bit more. And I'll say this is very blendable, and it's pigmented too, so that's really nice. For that shade I was using my Alex WG2 brush. Now I'm using my Glam Shop 007 brush, and I'm taking that warmer orangey yellow shade. I just love these colors so much. It's like a sunflower color scheme, and it's my go-to look, I feel like. Again, it's blending beautifully and it's very pigmented as well. Even though I wanted something a bit more neutral, I think I can still use this one, right? It's very colorful, but it's light, so I think it's gonna be fine, especially since I used quite light mattes. This is how it's looking on my fingers, so it's picking up really nicely. And just to try, I'm gonna use it dry. I am having a lot of fallout. It's a bit of a drier formula, I feel like, so maybe it would be nice to use it with a glitter glue, but I'm gonna try today without. You can definitely see that it's a little bit too dry to use by itself if you want something that's super, I guess, foiled and sparkly and shiny, because with this kind of drier formula it won't look super shiny. But I mean, it's very pretty, and it's nice that it's not so intense. Now this is the first finished look, and I really like it. It's not very complicated at all. It's a quite easy look, but I do really like the formulas. The mattes are particularly nice, and I do love the shift of the shimmer. It is a bit on the drier side, but using a glitter glue I'm sure would make it feel even better and up my alley, so I'll definitely do that for the next look I do. So yeah, that is the first look. So for this look today, I think I'm gonna use both the teal, the red, and probably this more yellowy orange kind of shade. So I'm gonna start off with the deep teal in my outer crease. I'm actually thinking of maybe using this one instead though. So I think I'll use this just to make it a bit more different than what I usually do. And I'm using my WG1 brush from Alex. And I did apply my Smashbox primer and also a little bit of concealer just in the inner and outer corners. And I don't want this shade to be super blown out. I want this to be a very wearable fall look because I'm going to work. And I mean, I don't necessarily mind wearing very dramatic looks to work. It's just, I feel like it's a little bit more appropriate if I don't. So I'm just blowing this out a tiny bit at the edges, not a lot, and making sure that it's very deep and saturated just in the crease, because naturally you will move your eye or lid quite a lot during the day, and you will be able to see it even though you don't blow it out too much. For the lower lash line, I did use a little bit of that, oh, now I think I bumped my finger into it, but that slightly more green teal shade, and I forgot to press the film button, but that's what I did. Now for the middle part of the crease, I'm going to use the burgundy shade, and I'm using my R102 brush from What's Up Beauty, and I'll apply that very close to the more bluish teal shade, because I don't know how far I want to drag it towards the inner corner. And I'll probably blend it out with the more yellow toned shade just to get some warmth into this look. So I think this is more than enough of the red actually. So I'll be taking that yellow toned shade with my 026 brush from Glam Shop. And I'll start that in the very inner corner, and then I'll try to blend it on top of the burgundy, which is a very cool toned burgundy, so I really want to warm it up with this warm yellow shade. And I'm not trying to saturate too much here, I'm trying to just use whatever is like left on my brush just to get a softer, warmer red tone. Something like this is looking really nice, and the shadows are looking so blended and beautiful, so I'm very happy about that. For the rest of the lower lash line, I'm going to use the yellow shade again, and I'll blend it a bit into the more green shade that I used. I just really wanted to make a super fall look. So for shimmer today, what should I use? I was thinking I'd use the warmer tone. I mean, I suppose I should use the warmer tone, so I'll just put on some glitter glue and use my finger to apply it. That's really nice, and it grounded the look a little bit because it was very colorful, and I love these colors together so much. And I feel like the shimmer is looking a little bit better with that glitter glue in comparison to yesterday when I just used it alone. So I'm very happy with how this is looking. I'll probably go into a different shade for the inner corner shade if I do one, but I'll just finish off the rest of my makeup and show you the close-up of this look. Here is the final look, and I really love it, and I love how these sparkles really come out with the lighting. So I'm just very excited about these shadows. I will say that the shimmer is kind of having some, I mean, I'm having a few fallout issues, but I will just have to see how that develops during the day, but it's not super bad at all. And yeah, I just love this look. So that was the second look. Now let's go to the third. For the last look I'm creating with this palette, I decided I would go into this more warmer teal shade. I guess it's nearly just a green. And I think I'm going to blend it with the yellow to make it more green than blue. And then I really want to use this shade. I would have loved using this one, but I think it's not gonna fit the look that I have in mind. But I think I will use this one to just get some extra sparkles on top of that multi-chrome shade. So I will just see how that goes, because these are a little bit flakier, so I might end up with quite a bit of fallout if I tap it on top, but I'm just gonna try and see how it goes. Either way, I'm gonna start out with my R102 brush and this deep green shade. Since it's a very deep shimmer, I'm going to put this shade all over the lid. I was thinking maybe I'd use a little bit of the burgundy, but I feel like that would be very similar to what I did yesterday. So I think I'll just go with this one and just make sure I blend it out with that yellow shade to make it a different tone, because you can see it's a relatively cool toned green, even though it's warmer than the other one. So now I have this shade blended and placed all over the lid, and I might go in with more later, because you can see you can't necessarily tell too much of the shadow when I'm looking straight forward because of my crease. But I will be using that yellowy shade now, and I'm using my WG1 brush and I'm overlapping that, so you can see that I'm like dotting it down right where I did the blending. And I think it's important to do a little bit of the blending before going in with the transition shade, just because sometimes it can be visible through the transition shade depending on how opaque the transition shade is. If you're working with a very opaque formula, you usually don't have any struggles with that, but it's always nice to be certain. So I'm really liking how grungy and cool this is. It's a lot more blown out than I first thought right here, but I don't mind. It's just that I'm going to work, and usually I prefer not to go way too dark. But who cares? Before going in with the shimmer, I'm going to take this green shade right here and I'll use that for the lower lash line. So I'm just applying it down here and I'm going to blend it slightly upwards to make sure that I have a nice blend for that deepest teal green shade. Now I just applied some glitter glue. I'm using the Glam glue and you can see I'm lifting a little bit of the mattes, but that's fine because this shimmer is very opaque. It's that green deep multichrome and I was thinking I'd use it all over the lid, but I do want to use that other shade, but I'm gonna use this basically all over the lid, but on like the outer perimeter of the lid I'm going to take that other shade and I'm picking it up with a brush and I'll just try to mix them a little bit together. Oh, that's gonna look so nice. So I'm just applying it at the top here and I'll have to see a little bit how does it end up looking, but I definitely want it here. I'll just tap it a bit over too, but I think it's gonna be easier with my finger once I've applied this shade here. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of it on my little finger and dabble it over. And I feel like that's just gonna give you some extra sparkles while still leaving you with that super awesome shift. Yeah, I'm really liking how that's looking. It's really, really nice. So I'll of course use a little bit of black eyeshadow on my upper waterline or in between my lashes to make just to make it look a little bit more full. I'll finish off the rest of my makeup and I'll show you the close-up. So that was my finished last look with this palette and I enjoyed using this palette so much, and I wish I could have done a look with some of these shades because I think they're so cool, but I don't necessarily feel like they're that work appropriate. So I'm gonna save that for later. Leave me a comment if you want to see me use some of these because I just think these kind of black red multichromes just look so fun. So I would love to do that, maybe for spooky season or something. But as for the rest of the shadows that I did use, I really do like them. The only issue I've had is fallout with these more foiled shades. And I do actually have even sparkles right now. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just impossible to get like off my face, and then I do get more fallout during the day too. So I did even see it like on my glasses that there was fallout on my glasses yesterday when I used glitter glue underneath. So I don't really know how to fix that. Maybe I do have to get a setting spray or something. But I do really like the finish of them. They just look so beautiful, and I loved topping this shade over the more satin sparkly multichrome. It just gave it some more texture and some bigger sparkle. I do like the mattes a lot. I think they're super easy to work with. They remind me a little bit of like a mixture of Dandelions Cosmetics and Glam Shop. Both are brands that I really do love the formula of. I feel like these might be a little bit less opaque maybe, so that is basically what I would compare it with. But I think that's actually it for this video. Please leave me a comment down below which look was your favorite and your experiences with Lethal Cosmetics, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on the brand and their shadows. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!